Hi everybody, I'm here with Tuesday's maths lesson. On screen you can see the starter task which links to yesterday's starter. So to start with you have 3 short division calculations to complete, so you will need to copy them down onto a piece of paper, making sure you set out your workings nice and clearly, so don't squish each of the digits close together, because remember if you have a remainder, for example on the first one, if you have a remainder, if these digits are squished together, then you will struggle to place the remainder in a sensible place which will make sense to you. So make sure you space out your work. Not massively spaced out, just maybe half a finger space between each digit would be good. Once you've completed the short divisions, remember that if there's a remainder, you can express the remainder by saying R2 or R3. But also, if you can remember what we were doing yesterday, see if you can turn the remainder into the correct decimal equivalent. Okay, see if you can remember what we did yesterday. If you didn't join in with yesterday's lesson, you might want to have a go at yesterday's starter, because I went into more detail about this, about how to turn the remainder into a decimal. Anyway, pause the video, have a go, and in a moment I will explain how to do it again if you've forgotten. Right, I'm going to start to go through. So here's my basic workings, so you can mark your work and please let me know if I've made a mistake anywhere. Notice how the remainder is not larger than the divisor in any of the questions. If I did see the remainder, if I saw that the remainder was larger than the divisor, I would do my calculation again, because I know that that will never happen. Okay, so R3, remainder 3. So remember, the remainder, the number gets placed on top of the divisor. Okay, so basically in this one it's 3/4. So you are 1/4 away from making another group in the division. Now what's the decimal equivalent for 3/4? 0.75. So now you know that in this question the R3 represents 0.75. You can now use that information to write the whole answer as a decimal. Hopefully you've written down 53.75. On the next one, what fraction does the R4 represent? Okay, it represents 4/5 because we've put the remainder on top of the divisor. So in this question we're 1/5 away from making another whole. What's the decimal equivalent for 4/5? Okay, I'm hoping you said 0.8, 8/10. So now you know, use that information to write the full answer as a decimal. Hoping you wrote down 37.8. Final question, we've got a remainder 2, so we put it on top of the divisor, so that remainder means 2/3. The decimal equivalent for 2/3 is 0.6 recurring. So now I use that information, so my final answer is 93.6 recurring. So it'll be 93.66666 and so on. Okay, let me know how you got on. Hopefully you've made some progress since yesterday, and maybe you got more of them correct than yesterday, or maybe you remembered the process better than yesterday. Now yesterday we were looking at questions where we had to work out the original amount. So for example, I said 10% of a number is 15. What number was I thinking of originally? Okay, so as a warm-up, I thought we'd just think about multiples really in times tables. So I know that 10%, so if I have 10 lots of 10%, I make 100%. So basically 10 multiplied by 10 is 100. I would like you to write these down on your piece of paper, because these facts might help you later on in today's session. So think about, what do you multiply 5 by to get to 100? If you're struggling, First of all, think about what do you multiply 5 by to get to 10. That's a good starting point. Same for 20 multiplied by what is 100. So pause the video and complete the other 4 facts which are on screen, and I suggest you write them out because they'll be good to refer to later on. Okay, I'm going to reveal the answers, so press pause if you're still working. Okay, so 20 lots of 5% make a whole, 5 lots of 20% make a whole, 4 lots of 25% make one whole, so 100%, and 2 lots of 50% make 100%. Okay, so those are good facts to know. So if I said to you, 20% of my number is 2, what was the original whole number? You would say, right, okay, I know that 5 20% make a whole, so I'm going to do 5 times 2. Oh, the original number is 10. So these facts are helpful. Now, sometimes you're given an amount, so you might be told about 30%. And I'm thinking, well, I don't really know what number to times 30 by to get to 100. It's not as simple as these ones. So sometimes you might think of a decimal number, but if you can't, then you need to just take a stepping stone. So you need to go backwards to go forwards. So one way of doing this, so I might say, okay, well, I can't think of what to multiply 30 by. So I'm going to do 30 divided by 3, which is 10%. Then I'm going to do 10 times 10 is 100, because I know 10%. I know that fact. So we're not actually doing any calculations yet. We're just thinking about routes to get to 100. So sometimes you might need to divide before you multiply. Don't worry if this doesn't make sense yet. It definitely becomes clearer later on in the session. What would you do for 40%? On screen, I've left some number sentences, and I'm wondering if you can fill in the gaps. There are many different ways to do this, but I decided to do, I couldn't work out what to multiply 40 by to get to 100. I know there's a decimal number that works, but I'm pretending I can't think of that. So I've decided to do 40 divided by something, which equals a percentage, and then I multiplied that percentage by 5 to get back to the whole. So you're going to need to think about what do you times by 5 to get 100? Can you fill in the gaps? Pause the video and have a go. Okay, so in this, you could have gone for 10%, but on this occasion I decided to do 40% divided by 2, which told me the amount for 20%. Then I did 20% multiplied by 5. I got the whole. So you've always got to think about how do you get to 100? 100 is the magic number in percentages. Okay, this is the final part for this part of the lesson. What do you think for 75%? If somebody said to you, 75% of my number is 10, what number am I thinking of? Okay, look on screen. I decided to do 75 divided by something is 25. And then what do you multiply 25% by to get back to 100%? Pause the video and see if you can work this out. Okay, I'm going to reveal. So I did 75 divided by 3, which is 25. Because I go 25, 50, 75. And then I know that 25 times by 4 is 100. So these roots are going to be helpful for the main part of the session. So we're going to practice some more of these questions, because if you can master this, it's a brilliant skill to have, and it can help you out in some of the more challenging questions, so some of the higher level questions. Right, I'm thinking of a number. 25% of my number is 80. What is the number I'm thinking of? Right, so you need to remember, always write down what you know. So I've written down 25% of number equals 80. Now you want to get back to the full number. So what percentage are we thinking about? So we're aiming to get to 100%. So now think about, what do you multiply 25 by to get to 100? Pause the video. I'm sure you can do this one. Right, I know that 25, 50, 75, 100. I know that you can times 25 by 4 to get 100. So if I times the percentage by 4, I times the amount by 4. So in this case, the number that this person was thinking of was 320. And remember that this answer can be checked by actually finding 25% of 320. If you get 80, then you're definitely right. Okay, unless you've been unfortunate and made 2 mistakes. Let's have a look at the next one. I'm thinking of a number. 30% of my number is 75. What is the number I am thinking of? So I've written down what I know. So I know that 30% is 75. Now notice how I've done 2 steps. So I've actually divided first and then I've multiplied. Remember, whatever you do to one side, you do the same to the other side. There are different ways of getting to this answer, so have a go. See if you have the same way that I have done, or see if you think of a different way. Pause the video, see if you can get from 30% back to the full number, which would be 100%. If you're stuck, think about the starter task, because we did think about 30% earlier. Right, I'm going to reveal my method, so press pause if you're still working. So I decided to first of all divide by 3. So what percentage was I going for first? So I chose to get to 10% first. So I divided both sides by 3. So I know that 10% of the number is 25. Then, what do you think I multiplied by? Also notice how, if I didn't know the fact, you could do some workings like this. So then I know that 10 tens make 100. So then I times both, so I multiplied both sides by 10. I just deleted that by accident. So if 10% is 25, 100% would be 250. Doesn't matter if you've got there a different way to me, but did you get this the right answer of 250? Okay, share with me afterwards so that I know how you're getting on. Right, I'm thinking of a number. 10% of my number is 28. What is the number I'm thinking of? Okay, so first of all, write down what you know, and then get back to the magic number, the full amount, 100%. Okay, 100 parts make up the whole. Have a go. Right, I'm going to reveal my answer. So I know that 10 lots of 10 make 100, so I just multiplied 28 by 10, and I got 280. Did you do the same? Right, this is the final question for today, I believe. I think, anyway. There might be one more. Molly is doing a long distance walk. So far, she has walked 14 kilometres. This is just 4% of the total distance. How far is Molly aiming to walk? Now it's not tricky, you just need to think carefully, okay? Think about how you get from 4 to 100. If you're not sure, maybe divide first and then multiply, or maybe multiply in 2 steps. You don't have to do it all in one go. I thought of 2 solutions, 2 ways to get there. So there's only one answer, but I thought of 2 different methods. So I've got one here and one here. Pause the video, see if you can make a pathway from 4 to 100. Okay, have a go. Right, I'm going to reveal 2 of my solutions. So you might have a different solution because there are many ways to solve this. Okay, so you might have remembered that 4 multiplied by 25 would work, but if you didn't remember that fact, because some of us might not have thought of that, you could have done this way. So you could have multiplied up to 20 first, so times both sides by 5, and then by 5 again. Okay, so that might be a method that you did, or I put this one, so you might have divided to get 1%. So I divided both sides by 4, and then I multiplied by 100. Or as I say, you might have multiplied by 25. Okay, notice how when I did 14 divided by 4, I got 3 remainder 2. So I put 2 on top of the divisor, I got 0.5. So there are 2 ways. So I like these tasks. I like how there are many different methods. Right, so we have got another question. Oops, I forgot. I think there might be 2 more. This is a common type of experience you might experience in a shop. So you're in a shop. A coat has 10% off in the sale. The price is now £45. What was the original price? So this isn't telling you that the price is £45. There's 10% off. What's it cost now? It's telling you that the coat has got 10% off and it now costs £45. So you're looking at the original amount. So there are some questions that you might want to think about. So pause the video and just think about, is the coat more or less expensive now than when it was full price? Is 10% a big reduction or small? So if it is reduced by 10%, what percentage of the full price does it cost now? So there we can see the incorrect answer. We're going to look at the correct answer now. Right, so if a coat has 10% off in the sale, 10% is a small percentage. Okay, so it's this tiny amount here. So there we can see 10%. Now we know that a whole is worth 100%. So what do you add to 10 to get to 100? I'm hoping that you're saying the number 90. So actually in the shop, you are paying 90% of the original value. Now if you're feeling confident, press pause and work out the original price before I reveal my method. Okay, so you know that 90% of the price is £45. Can you use that fact? Can you get from 90 to 100? Remember, you can divide first and then multiply. See if you can do it. It's just the same as the other questions we were doing earlier, but there are some words and a context to it. Right. So, this is one way of thinking about it. So, you may have done 45 divided by 9 to work out 10%. 45 divided by 9 is 5. So then you do 5 times 10. Okay, so an extra part was 5, so the answer is £50. Here's another way of thinking about it with the ratio table. So you divide by 9, work out 10%, then multiply by 10, £50. Did you get that? Did you have a different method? Did you use one of these methods? Definitely the final question. A farmer sells 25% of her sheep. She has 600 sheep left. How many sheep did she have to start with? So think carefully. What percentage does the 600 sheep represent? So the farmer had 100%. She sold 25%. And now she's got 600 sheep left. So what percentage links to 600? When you've got that, write that fact down. Okay, I'm going to reveal the first part. So 100 take away 25 is 75. So 600 is worth the 75%. Now think about earlier in the lesson. How can you get from 75 back to 100? You could divide first and then multiply. Think about earlier in the lesson. Pause the video, have a think, so you know that 75% equals 600. Somehow you've got to get from there back to 100%. Okay, I'm going to reveal my solution, my method. So first I chose to divide both sides by 3 because I wanted to know what 25% is worth. So 25% is equal to 200 sheep. Then I thought, well, I know that 25 times 4 is 100. So I just multiplied the 25% by 4 and I got 800 sheep. So the farmer had 800 sheep to start with. Right, we'll do the other question tomorrow, as I think we've done enough for today. Well done if you've got this far. Thanks for joining in. Please share your work with me and see you tomorrow.